Greetings to you, our dear viewer, and thank you so much for keeping it to Church of Uganda Family TV. It is a beautiful evening, and of course, every Thursday here at Church of Uganda Family TV, specifically in Family Hour, we'll be talking about leadership and governance, and which is why Dr. Patricia is here, and of course, not alone, but also Diana with us here to discuss what we have here on table. But specifically, I had to highlight something before we kick off the discussion. Somehow, somewhere, you would find emotions in a workplace. You find someone is very pissed, not wanting to talk to everyone in a workplace, and when you talk to them, you find that actually it is issues to do with their home, or something happened at home, but they carry on to the workspace and then hold on to those kind of emotions. So today we are going to be discussing emotional intelligence and code of conduct, which is at a workplace. What does this mean? If you have emotions at home, are you supposed to bring them at a workplace? Or how are you supposed to handle that? Which is why our DRS Deputy IGG is going to be taking us through, and also the Diocesan Chancellor of Kampala Diocese, Diana, who is also going to be sharing part of this. But of course, I think it is very ethical for them to first greet us. Good evening to you.
Good evening, Luke, and good evening, viewers. I am Patricia Achan Okiria, and I'm very happy to be here today with my sister Diana.
Okay.
And this is a very exciting topic. I'm looking forward to the conversation. Thank you.
Interesting. Diana.
Good evening. It's good to be here, viewers. I know that this is Dr. Patricia's early, so I'm sure she's very happy to have this particular topic.
Oh, yes.
And it's always a pleasure to be here, so I'm happy to be here this evening.
Oh, wow. That's interesting. So as the topic has been laid out, the emotional intelligence and code of conduct at a workplace, what can you define as emotional intelligence in a workplace?
Look, for me, emotional intelligence is basically about somebody's ability to be able to perceive, to be able to express and understand and regulate their own emotions, and also be able to relate with others. In a workplace, you find that emotional intelligence, like you started by saying, plays a very significant role, because if I'm emotionally drained or depressed, or I'm having a situation, that situation must not affect me at my workplace. If it is a problem at home, I should be able to deal with it as an individual. So at workplace, emotional intelligence basically plays a very crucial role in fostering effective communication, in fostering teamwork, and also in conflict resolutions and the overall productivity of an organization. So if somebody cannot manage his or her emotions, then it basically affects that person's ability to deliver at workplace as well. So for me, that is how I would look at it. Thank you.
And what would cause failure to handle that? To handle the emotions? Well,
when somebody fails to handle emotions, that means that person basically is lacking self-awareness. Because you realize that individuals who have a high emotional intelligence are aware of their emotions and how it influences their behavior. And when they lack this self-awareness, because remember, self-awareness, on the other hand, helps this person, allows them to deal with stressful situations within themselves and also take sound decisions. So a person who does not have that self-awareness cannot make sound decisions. And remember that in leadership, our decisions have got implications and affect many people. And then also emotional intelligence encourages self-regulations, where I can tell myself that myself as Patricia, I'm going to deal and manage with this situation in this manner. It enables individuals to be able to manage their own emotions effectively, and this includes controlling impulses, adapting to the changing environmental circumstances, and maintaining a positive outlook, because we need a positive outlook out there. And even when you go through difficult situations, like when I'm going through a challenge, my sister Diana should not look at me and know that there's a challenge she's going through. So I should be able to maintain that positive outlook. And emotional intelligence also helps somebody to by they have empathy. empathy, which is the ability to understand and consider even the feelings of other people. You should be able to do that. So employees with high emotional intelligence can be able to empathize with their colleagues, with their clients, with their superiors, leading to better relationships at work and even increased cooperation and productivity. So emotional intelligence plays a very significant role, and when it is lacking, then you realize that these aspects and elements would be lacking as well.
Okay. Now let me first bring in Diana, but before I do, when we return to you, I want us to tell us how I can switch moods immediately from my toxic home, and then I have to come to a workplace where I have to be a totally different person. But I want to first ask Diana, what is the influence of emotional intelligence in the overall performance of a person in a workplace?
I think Dr. Patricia has laid the ground very well, because you can't divorce a human's emotions from themselves. How I feel is how I will respond. Men are better at controlling it. Naturally, men are better at controlling it.
Yes.
Women, we struggle a bit more. But to be fair, we have more emotions and more hormones than you do. And so because we have more emotions, we are more likely to struggle more than men do. Actually, I was telling God the other day, I now see why that there are so many male preachers at the top. Dr. Patricia may not agree with me, but I now see why there are so many men at the top, because there are certain parts of the month that are quite difficult, very difficult to be in a certain space and a certain times, and having to man that is very critical. But emotional intelligence is extremely important, because in many ways, as a human being, your emotions can either give you a flight or fight response. God has given them to you for a reason. They're not there just out of the blue. And so we don't neglect them. But what we need to learn is how to temper them and control them and use them for a specific space and where God has allowed us to use them. So say, for example, Dr. Patricia is a mother, she's a wife, she's the IGG, she's all these things. She wears many hats. She's the vice president, UCLF. She's an AYF singer. She's frowning at me. But but you see, she wears 1,000 hats. She can't be the deputy IGG when she's a mother. She can't use that same title when she's a wife. She can't use that. And yet all those require a certain level of emotion. They require her to respond in a certain degree. Now, it will look to people as if she's very controlled in a certain environment, but the people who truly know her will be her husband and her children, because they see her for who she is. Without the hats that she's wearing, she's showing who she is. But as a grown woman, she has learned to temper her emotions in the places that she is in. When you meet the vice president, you'll meet the vice president. When you meet the deputy IGG, you'll meet the deputy IGG. When you meet a friend, you will meet the friend. When you meet the singer, you'll meet the singer. It doesn't make her less of a person. It just means that she has mastered the art. And I think most of us need to come to that place where we master and contain our emotions, such that it helps the workplace to grow and to become better. And I think for people, especially where you have women bosses, it's safer when someone is emotionally intelligent, right?
Yes.
Because you don't want to say that we're responding today depending on how our boss feels. And I think I mentioned that because it's a detriment mostly to ladies. It's very difficult for us to control emotions, especially when we are the bosses at the top. Most people fear women. And so it's inculcated, or it's a culture we have to learn as women more than men, how to control our emotions and become emotionally intelligent. She spoke about self-regulation so that you can create a safer environment. Everybody wants to come to a safe environment. And so what you're doing when you're regulating your emotions is that you're creating a safe environment and also a secure and sure environment for people. Nobody wants to come to work thinking that I will be fired tomorrow. Depending on the mood. So you've seen people where the boss fires you today, calls you back tomorrow, fires you the next day, calls you back, you're under disciplinary the next session, you're suspended the next, because it's just up and about. But for somebody who has regulated, somebody who understands social skills, understands the things that give you emotional intelligence, you will know that I need to temper myself so that what I am doing at work is bigger than me. Okay. I love what I had, I think, growing up as a younger professional, is the institution is always bigger than the individual. And because the institution is bigger than the individual, you do not carry everything of yourself and pour it into everybody's mess. You learn to know that beyond you, this institution will exist. And because of that, your emotional intelligence has to be very, very grown.
Okay. I think, Doctor, you are going to join the two. How do you manage to put on all these emotions in different suits? and then also balancing the stress you've left at home, and then you come to a workplace and you have to switch to a totally different person.
Well, it's a very interesting story. And when Diana was talking about it, I wanted to pinch her. And say, but I think I agree with Diana because I, from my perspective, I think when you have the strong social skills, they are very essential, especially in enforcing this collaboration and even communication at workplace. And you realize that individuals with high emotional intelligence can be able to build rapport, to solve conflicts and even influence others positively. Going back to my story, how do I manage to balance? I have shared it many times that for me, with all these titles, when I reach home, the titles remain at the gate. The titles remain at the gate, and when I'm home, I'm that mother, I'm that wife, I'm that spouse, I'm that friend at home. And I don't take issues of home to work, where it's normal for people to disagree. Like when you're a married woman, you sometimes disagree with your spouse, and if you've disagreed, it must not be spread all over the place. In Uganda, they say, munju tebi tutulwa. You don't take them out. You keep them in-house. So I prefer to manage myself that way. Home issues are for home issues, work issues are for work issues. And you realize that when emotional intelligence becomes an integral part of your lifestyle, then you're able to be able to promote values such as open communication, collaboration, and even mutual respect when you associate with people. So when I come with my problems in my heart and things that are bothering me, it should not be spilling over to the people I am supervising. But we have had in situations where people, because they have quarreled from elsewhere, they have disagreed, they have a challenge at home, and they bring that challenge to work, which is a very, very bad thing. But it is something you learn over time to practice. I'll tell you an interesting story. When I was expecting my firstborn, I had read a lot about women going through emotional changes, and so, and someone would say, no, pregnant women are very quarrelsome people, and I would keep laughing. I said, no, I will not, me, Patricia, I will not be the quarrelsome one. I'll not be the one who is. So one time I got out of the taxi and I was there very tired from town, and I've reached Mkumba stage, and I found the National Water people had dug trenches on the roadside. And you know how unethical those people can be. So I got out of the taxi and came and jumped over this trench while the people were working. So the person said, "Hey, omukazi agenda kuzala wano." Agenda tuzalira omwana. So I jeered and I said, "This stupid man, how can you talk like that?" Then I quickly remembered what I had been reading. And I said, "Oh, Patricia, I think it is true that because you are expecting, you are now reacting." So I just remembered that and found myself bursting into laughter and walking on and just ignoring and not giving attention to these people who are saying, So I think emotional intelligence, when it is an integral part of your personal lifestyle and conduct, then it helps you promote those values, because you will have accepted and said, for me, I don't think I should. When I'm here, I am the choir member. When I'm here, I'm the mother. When I'm at work, I'm the Deputy Inspector General of Government. And it helps you move professionally in your different things. And employers can provide even training programs to help employees enhance emotional intelligence. And leaders, by the way, this goes to leaders. Leaders who demonstrate high emotional intelligence are able to set a positive example for the employees. for their teams to follow, because they can inspire trust, they can foster supportive collaboration, and they can also build a good environment and be able to navigate through the challenges they face together without necessarily bringing in emotions. And they have said many times that women, we act by feelings, we put emotions to our work. Yes, we do, but we do emotional intelligence in order to get positive output. And probably finally, in conflict resolutions, I have seen emotional intelligence helping me a lot. Where there are conflicts, I have to apply this, because when you apply emotional intelligence in conflict resolution and management, you apply it with a calm demeanor. You don't just throw words, unedited words at your staff. You actively listen to the concerns of the parties, of the others, and you work towards getting the beneficial solutions together. You actually arrive at those solutions together. So it helps to maintain a harmonious work environment at the workplace. At the same time, it helps to prevent conflicts. Because when there is a conflict, you accept that, okay, there is a conflict here, but how can I be that person who will bring harmony? How can I be that person who will be that voice of hope and peace and have a resolution to this problem?
Okay.
Yes, because in Uganda they say, amanyo lujegere gabera ku lugonvu yako. So you have to apply even humility in dealing with such issues. I am an Acholi from Omoro district, and I speak Acholi. Yes, thank you.
Okay, Diana, let's leave Doctors Luganda for now. And can we now intersect emotional intelligence with the code of conduct in a workspace? How do these two move together?
Well, the code of conduct will come down to ethics and how you develop ethics in the workplace. Because of emotional intelligence, that means we talked about the 5 components, or the components that make up emotional intelligence, which is social skills, motivation, things such as self-awareness, self-management, social awareness. So all those are just a component of what makes up emotional intelligence. And so each of them plays a key role in building ethics, or in having a code of conduct in the workspace, because each of us comes with different value systems from our home. My value system is not your home, is not your value system. I think it's married people who know this the best, that you grow up with a certain way that you do things in your home, get married to somebody who has a certain way of things that they do in their home, and when that happens, there's a clash. And yet what you have to do, because you are married, you have to form a code of conduct. You have to come to our middle ground where you say, this is what we want to do. This is how we want to run our home and run the different things. I think similarly in the workplace, what makes a successful marriage from that is each of them leaves their position, their strong position, and finds the goodness of each of what everybody has brought to the table and forges a way forward. So aware of so that only happens again because you're self-aware. So if you're aware of yourself, you have the social skills which are needed, you have the social awareness, you have the motivation. Each of that is brought to the workspace, and in the workspace you begin to learn that Dr. Patricia perhaps is not a morning person, and Diana is a morning person. So I am not going to bang on her door every morning just to say good morning, hello, right? I will know she needs a bit of 2 hours alone to come into her space. Or sometimes she may need coffee, and so I can just knock and put the coffee there and walk out. Those are the social skills that you need. So the code of conduct is formed first by the institution as a method for which the people work, the things that govern, the value system that governs the institution. And so when it is formed, it runs across the board. So regardless of my standard of value and her standard of value, they are all brought to the measuring line, which is the code of conduct. So I can't fight. So, first of all, when we were growing up, we settled arguments by fighting. Yeah, it's when you're going with boys. When you're going up with boys, how you settle arguments is we fought. So I found it very difficult when I went to a single-sex school, because when I got angry, I wanted to fight. And yet the school said they will expel you if you fight. It was a difficult thing for me. I remember, I think it was the first time I even cried, because I could not the emotions I was feeling in that moment could not be expressed in the way that I wanted to express them. And that's what happens when those emotions are stifled up in a certain place and you can't express them in the way that you want to. You're going to resort to something else. And so what kept me from being expelled is that there were rules and regulations, which we're calling a code of conduct in a workspace.
Yes.
So you learn to temper your feelings, your values, and everything that you have learned according to this. The rules set that standard for how things move. And I think, secondly, as you come into the workspace, how you marry the two is that everybody lives their position and understands that this is just a workspace and I'm here for a certain time and there's a way in which I'm supposed to behave. I think I struggled when I was younger getting into the profession. We had a system where you could talk to one another across using a messenger in the workspace, and so in the department that I was in, you just hear people giggling, giggling. And so everyone is giggling except you. And you can hear people typing. So you're not in the conversation, right? And I remember being very disappointed and angry. And I texted a friend at that time because I expected that because we were all at work and they said that everybody spends majority of their time at work, so the natural disposition is that you're going to become friends. So I expected to be included in the friends group because we were all at work. And then the friend texted me back and said, it's just work. They're not your friends.
Wow.
And you need to know the boundaries and the places that you are at. And for me, it was a light bulb moment because it helped me define what kind of person I wanted to be at work and what kind of person I did not want to be at work. That's how the code of conduct helps, because you come with your expectations. But the code of conduct reminds you, this is just a workspace. This is a give and take. There is a barter trade happening here. You give your skill, I give you money. Right? And because of that, it regulates your emotions. Remember, as a young professional, I came in with my expectations, but it regulated my emotions. It taught me things that I needed to learn in the workspace.
Wow, interesting. Doctor, how can leaders, especially in workspaces, use emotional intelligence maybe to reinforce ethical behavior?
For me, when you look at the responsibilities leaders have at the workplace, it's a very, very big responsibility, because when you look at the CEO, for instance, the CEO is like the mother or the father of that organization. And as a mother or father, you have big responsibilities. You are the head. So when they cultivate emotional intelligence, first of all, it helps in upholding a strong moral code of conduct in the workplace, and it can lead to improved morale, especially for the staff below there. And it also can lead to improved employee engagement and enhanced teamwork and all these other things which I had said earlier on. But leaders can do this when it is lacking in an institution. I think a leader can be purposeful and intentional and organize special training, basically with a view of enhancing the skills of the employees of that institution to be able to improve or get better emotional intelligence. Because when you integrate emotional intelligence principles into the code of conduct at the workplace, it can create a more positive and productive work environment, which would basically be benefiting both the employees and also the organization as a whole. Because if an organization has a group of employees who are excited, who have morale, who are enthusiastic to learn and apply new skills to their work, then such an organization would be able to perform very, very well. And now, touching on the code of conduct, like Diana rightly put it, these are expected behavior or ethical standards which an institution must be able to adhere to, and it helps to guide employees on how to behave within that environment. And it is significant because it sets the expectations. First of all, it establishes clear expectations regarding how these employees conduct themselves professionally at their place of work, with maintaining ethics as well. It promotes ethical behavior. It also promotes the principles and values within the organization that basically guides decision making. Like sometimes you can be there in the board and a certain topical issue has come to do with the human resource. You basically would want to look at the human resource manual in order to give you guidance on how to decide on that matter relating to human resource. It could be to do with a policy. So when you have a code of conduct, you keep referring to it. It can be like that compass to guide you, and it helps also to ensure compliance to the legal and regulatory requirements within the institution. So I think leaders play a very significant role, especially if you want to build trust and integrity of an institution. You must have emotional intelligence with a code of conduct to guide the staff, because emotional intelligence and enforcing these codes can help to build trust within the clients, within the partners, within the public. They will know that this institution, when I go there, I will be served in this manner. And this is the reason why we go ahead even to initiate and develop client charters to guide our relationship between the people we serve and also our responsibilities in the institution. And another thing, it can help to build or enhance the organizational brand and image out there, because an organization where people have emotional intelligence and clear codes of conduct to guide the institutional staff basically has a very good image out there. So I think having these codes of conduct, like my sister Diana has said, plays a very significant role in these institutions, because it fosters a good working environment, because it sets standards of behavior and relationships. It creates a culture of mutual respect and even ensuring professionalism at work, because you cannot be professional when you're acting with feelings and you're bringing your bad emotions into play. So it also helps, by the way, to mitigate certain risks within the organization, risks associated with misconduct, risks associated with unethical behavior, risks associated with lack of values. Have you seen people who tell lies and say, you know, I've lost an uncle, I've gone for burial. Then the uncle you claim to have lost has come to the office to see you. And people are wondering, but they said this uncle had passed on. How comes he's here again? So people should be truthful. It helps to promote integrity, even among workmates, and it promotes a good work relationship. So I think it's very, very important.
Wow, very important indeed to note. And now, Diana, I want you to take us through how managers or how these leaders in the workspaces, just like our doctor was telling us, how can they assess themselves as well? Because emotional intelligence is not only for the people they are looking at, they are supervising even themselves, because there are days when a manager can come in and they're a totally different person from what they were the previous day. How can they also assess their emotional intelligence?
Managers can start with understanding their emotions, because each of us has emotions and we have to understand those emotions. And so it's important that you are very self-aware about your emotions. If you know that there are certain things that trigger you, look at those triggers. I said this because I again, defaulting to women. There are things that you know I'm going to be triggered a certain way at a certain time of the month. And so because that's going to happen, I know the triggers and I know how to respond. And so I know not to shout. I know not to be moody. I know not to put whatever I'm feeling on a human being. And so it's important that you understand your emotions, grow in those emotions. Each of us, my mother used to tell me, you keep pulling your mouth, it will stay there, you know, as a young person. I see my niece doing it now, and I'm always castigating her. And my mother, in my castigation, always reminds me, that was you. That was you. But in truth, she helped me manage my emotions, those that I couldn't understand, those that I couldn't know as you were coming up as a teenager. And each stage of life has an opportunity for you to manage your emotions. And it's important that you understand your emotions and also allow people to give feedback and you give feedback. Because the only way for you to improve is when you listen to people. You listen to what people are saying to you and how they are responding to you. Every manager, whether you like it or not, people think a certain way about you. Every employee, whether you like it or not, people are thinking a certain way about you. So receive feedback, give feedback. It's a learning curve, and it helps you understand. And I think active listening is also a good technique that each of us has to learn. We have to actively listen to somebody. You know, people are listening. They're listening to give an answer. Now that's not active listening. When you're listening and always putting ad-libs in between, you're just, especially in a conversation, you're waiting for me to finish. The moment my mouth closes, you already have your response. Even before it closes, you said, let me interject you right there. You're not actively listening. Actively listening, you're listening to the thoughts behind the point being presented. You're listening to the emotion behind what is being presented. Active listening will help you as a leader, but also as an employee to understand and manage your emotions.
Okay. I think that had taken me away also. I was trying to assess my active listening skills, but well, we are going in for a very short break and return with this discussion, because I guess you and I must really learn a lot when it comes to managing our emotions in every space we are in. Very short break.